What's up, everybody? Welcome into this Tuesday edition of Pushing the Pile, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Mike Renner, Kyle Long, JP Acosta joining you guys today. We're going to break down a little Monday Night Football doubleheader action. Hopefully, the last simultaneous doubleheader of all time in Monday Night Football, truthfully. Balancing that and trying to watch the Brewers game, because I am a Brewers fan, was kind of brutal last night. We're going to break down the Brian Callahan firing. We're going to get into Kyle's trench takes, JP's playbook, and instead of my rookie report, we do a little draft report. We're going to start. It's about time to start talking about some draft prospects on the pod, and then we'll finish off with our upon further review segment. But let's get into Monday Night Football, where we can go right to Kyle, because I know he's chomping at the bit here after all the jokes all off season.
I'm not chomping at the bit at all, man. I'm just
as he puts on his muscle man hat. Dude, those are...
Go ahead. You were saying?
So Bears win 25-24. Obviously, they cover as 4.5-point dogs. 49.5 points. The under barely hits there. Vegas almost got that one right on the dot. My number from this one, Kyle, and you'll love this, 63%. That was the Bears' rushing success rate in this game. Swift goes for over 100. It was 38% the first 5 weeks. We talked about how their inability to run the football was hampering this offense. Well, they flipped the script against the Commanders.
Look, it was a fun night of football. Seeing a guy like Bijan go for 81, we'll get to that. But the Bears, my number was 4. Okay, that's DeAndre Swift. And I didn't realize the pack-a-punch that exists in this guy if you can actually get a hat on a hat in the running game. And also, I give a lot of credit to Ben Johnson for featuring Darnell Wright in a lot of these run schemes, because when you've got a big guy that can move like that has the length, the ability to take two, and in the 4-minute situation, not 4-minute, the game-winning drive, you saw them go behind Darnell Wright, and DeAndre Swift looked to be very comfortable. He was, in my opinion, doing a great job of getting up to speed before the line of scrimmage, so that when he did hit that thing, he was a blur. And if guys are engaged with the defensive lineman, that's a tough ask for any defense. If you get a hat on a hat and a running back that hits the holes with conviction that were designed and schemed up specifically for that hole. And he did that last night. I give a lot of credit to Caleb for taking care of the football. You could tell he was frustrated at certain points in the game. I think that faith ball that you and I were talking about on Twitter, JP, was the prime example of an opportunity for Caleb Williams to go in the tank mentally, and he didn't. You make a play like that with your buddy in prime time, and they call it back because of a procedural penalty, an alignment penalty, that I would have lost my mind. You would have had to try to get me reeled back in, but to see Caleb keep his head, that's awesome. And for the Commanders, that guy Jaden Daniels is special, bro. And I know that there was turnovers in the football game, and the running back fumbled it, and he threw an interception on an underthrown ball over the middle. But Jaden Daniels can go, dude. And it was never more apparent to me than when he takes off running and can turn a 5-yard gain into a 20-yard gain, and he makes every team look like they're bad tacklers, and his ability to stop on a dime and watch guys go flying past him, it's eerily reminiscent of Lamar Jackson. And I think that Jaden might even be a plus runner than Lamar Jackson. And he doesn't have to press that button very much, but when he does, it's a very effective button that he presses. His ability to find guys down the field is special. I think his explosive playability, run and pass, is awesome. Dan Quinn's got a really good football team, but Ben Johnson's building a good football team in Chicago. It was exciting to watch as a Bears fan. I'm interested to hear you guys, your neutral thoughts on this game.
This was a really fun game. I have to say, like, this doubleheader, we're going to get to the other one. This doubleheader was really fun, and it was really fun seeing the Bears lean into sort of what made Ben Johnson work in Detroit, which is everything starts up front. Everything starts with winning on the offensive line. And while I do think the Commanders' defense, especially how they play defense, has a lot of warts, they are always going to try and get upfield. They are a chaos team. Washington wants to get tackles for loss. They want to get sacks. They want to create negative plays. And if they can't do that, they're going to get run off the field. And that's what you saw against Chicago, that every time they would get upfield, Ben Johnson, Detroit would just go, okay. Or not Ben Johnson, Detroit. Ben Johnson, Chicago would just go, okay, run up the field. We're going to run right where you left. And that took advantage of some of their lack of discipline in the front. And you're asking Bobby Wagner to cover for a lot of your losses up front. And Bobby Wagner, great player, not that guy anymore. He can't do everything for that defense. And I thought that the Bears did a really good job of just emphasizing some of their star players, their core players. DeAndre Swift had a great game. I thought this was the most decisive that he's looked in a game this season. Darnell Wright, you mentioned it. It was very similar to how the Lions used to run behind Penei Sewell. When things went wrong, you run behind your best players. You lean on your best players in tight situations. They leaned on Darnell Wright, and he was an absolute people mover in this game. He was the best player on the field for Chicago. And then you got some really nice opportunistic plays on defense. The fumbles were a couple of nice breaks for them, but I thought Dennis Allen really turned up the simulated pressures, really started attacking that interior offensive line, and it gave Jaden Daniels a little bit of problems. Now, Washington, they'll probably be fine, sort of, kind of. I'm a little worried about Washington this year, but this was potentially a momentum-shifting win for Chicago coming out of the bye.
Yeah, you mentioned you're a little worried. I'm a lot worried about the Commanders. Not because they can't make the playoffs, not because like there's Jaden Daniels isn't the guy we thought he was. I think like all that's there. It's just because they're not really a better team than they were last year. And they had to kind of eke by to get to the NFC Championship game last year. So how is this team whose defense looks no better, not improved whatsoever from a team that, like I said, had a lot of one-score wins last season? How are they going to get over the hump? Because that's the goal, right? When you have, as we've said a lot, the Holy Grail, you have that quarterback who's dominant, getting paid like not a dominant quarterback, gets paid in the NFL. How are you going to build that around him? And just, offensively, I think they have. And obviously still doing all this without Terry McLaurin, and they'll be better when he gets back there. But defensively, they let up 25 points to the Bears, and objectively, Caleb Williams did not have a great game. Caleb Williams left probably a couple touchdowns to Rome Odunze on the field there in that game where he was wide open down the football field that could have even poured it on more on this Commanders defense. So I am worried about the Commanders and this defense. But for me, the Bears, this was the why you hire Ben Johnson game. Again, I don't think Caleb Williams played his best outing, but you still scored 25 points. You have a backup left tackle in there and you still score 25 points that you kind of got to scheme around. And it's like, that is what you get from a good play caller. This does not happen last season. When Caleb Williams didn't have a great game the way he did last night, they were scoring 10 points last year. Now they can actually win games when that's the case.
The best offenses are the ones that don't ask their quarterbacks to be Superman all the time. They don't have to put on that cape all the time. And Caleb Williams and the Bears, the problem, like you said, last year was Caleb Williams had to be Superman every single play. The margin for error was so razor thin that any mistake that he made was catastrophic. This year, it feels like that margin for error is widened a little bit, and that's how you could tell that the Ben Johnson effect. This game, like you said, Caleb Williams left maybe a couple plays on the board. It was not as bad as Troy Aikman was probably on the broadcast. I thought Troy Aikman was getting ready to say that Caleb Williams should not be on the field ever, but he left a couple plays on the field, but the Bears still put up 25 points. The Bears still had the effective ground game. The Bears still got really timely plays from Rome Odunze. You got timely plays from DJ Moore. You got some really important plays from a defense that really needed it. That's the type of stuff that you can carry over. That is team football. When you talk about complementary football, that is complementary football. Everybody pitching in to the win. And it feels like the Bears, this could be a positive step towards maybe a late play, maybe a playoff push. We don't know what's going to happen, but this team, if they play complementary football in the NFC, anything can happen.
If you force 3 damn turnovers, excuse my language, Harry. If you force 3 turnovers and you don't win by 2 possessions, and you don't turn, if you force 3 if you're +3 in the turnover ratio and you don't win by 2 possessions, that's a red flag for me. So while we're here and we're celebrating the run game, and I understand getting excited about guys like Swift and Roma Dunze and Caleb Williams getting absolutely clobbered by Luvu and staying in the football game. By the way, what a shot by Luvu on the sideline. You got to win by more than 1 point, okay? This is the sobering thought that I'm having this morning, is that we didn't tackle well early in the game. There was no contain rush etiquette, as it were. And the one guy you said can't win the game almost won the game for the Washington Commanders. So I have some pause on the playoff talk, but I will support in full the Bears are better this year conversation.
I'm going to end with this take, and then we'll get to the other game. Luther Burden, man. I'm excited to see what this guy
That's go. That's not go.
It's just like when you see plays like that, you're just like, he's going to be good. Like,
can we put him where Olamide Zaccheaus is? Can we put him where Olamide Zaccheaus is?
It's just reliability. He's a rookie. We'll get him up to speed. But
get
once
him
he's
out there.
He's averaging over 3 yards per route right now. That is an elite figure in the NFL. He's averaging over 3 yards per route. So when he's out there, the guy is producing. All right, let's get to the Bills, Falcons. Falcons roll them up. Falcons defense, what's up? 24-14. They win as 4.5-point dogs at home. The under hits there, 49.5. JP, you got the number for us. What is it?
My number for this game was 44%. That is the pressure rate by the Falcons defense. That is the highest Josh Allen has faced this season. And this is probably going to sound crazy. That game was not as close as the final score actually was. The Falcons, sorry, I'm going to put in a swear jar, Harry. The Falcons kicked the Bills' ass on Monday. Like, that was a statement game by the Falcons defense. And it is, when you think about the Atlanta Falcons, we talked about it before the season, it was, can the offense be explosive and the defense hangs on? Their highest profile games this year have been the defense absolutely working the opposing offense while you get splash plays from Bijan Robinson and Drake London. This defense is legit, and I think the biggest thing that stands out from this game is that Jeff Ulbrich was willing to change. He was willing to mix up the game plan. At first, they were scared of blitzing Josh Allen, which understandably, because Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback against the blitz in the league. They didn't rush on the first couple of drives. The first opening drive touchdown, didn't blitz on that touchdown. Josh Allen was able to stand back there, and he carved them for a touchdown. They blitzed on 56% of Josh Allen's dropbacks on Monday. That is the highest Josh Allen has seen since 2021. That was a masterful game plan. I think Devon Diablo had another awesome game. He's playing like a Pro Bowl caliber linebacker. I believe it's Caden Ellis on the Falcons. He's playing incredible this year. And then you get opportunistic plays on the defense from everybody. Zach Harrison had a great game. David Onyemata was making some run stops. Ruka Roro had some really nice pass rush moments. And then offensively, I think Bijan Robinson might be the best running back in the game right now. He is such a force in the game. He is such a force on the game. You have to account for where Bijan Robinson is, and the Falcons will put Bijan Robinson everywhere. I thought it was really cool how they would line up Bijan out wide, and they have Charlie Warner in the backfield, and they'd run outside zone off of that. They're running choice routes for him. They ran a rail route, I think that on a big play where Bijan was wide open in the second half, where Kyle Pitts is running this post, and Tre'Davious White takes the post because he's in quarters. He's got to match him. And the linebacker's sort of like, I don't know if I should be out here. And he leaves Bijan wide open. So you get those plays. You get the opportunistic Drake London plays. The offense still goes into weird lulls. That's always going to be an issue for the Falcons. They went into like sleep mode for most of the game. They're still trying to find that second gear, especially in the receiving core without Darnell Mooney. Mm-hmm. But this defense, I would say, is legit. This defense is legit, and it kind of brings up the question. I said it after the game, but who is good in the NFL? Who is the best team in the NFL? Because the Bills right now, they don't look like it.
No one's good. That was my takeaway from like the past 2 weeks. It's just like no one's
great.
So good. Yes, no one's so good that any given week they're not susceptible. is I think the biggest thing. And the Bills, it's like, it's not only their defense, but this one, once Josh Palmer went down, it was basically just, it seemed like it was open season on Josh Allen in terms of just like, hey, we actually can go mano-a-mano against these receivers. So there's no one that scares us because they didn't have Dalton Kincaid going into this game. So that's why they just like teed off. And if the Falcons tee off on you, if they're bringing those blitzes, because they got 3 guys in that front, and we talked about it with the 2 first-rounders and then the addition of Divine Diablo, like those are all low 4 or 5 guys. When you have a front 7 that has that kind of juice, I don't care who you are, it's hard to pick up that many guys who are that athletic every single time. Every single time they bring all of those. And Caden Ellis also an awesome blitzer. So like they really have the ability to, and it's not just with, and like that's where they're going to win. It's not line up 4 and hope that Jalen Walker and James Pierce win as pass rushers. It's like, no, just like, let them go find gaps. Like let them go all attack gaps as blitzers. And then one of them is probably going to get home. And they did a lot last night.
I have a conspiracy theory take. Are you guys on board with hearing this?
Let's do it.
Any conspiracy I'm on board with hearing. Let's go.
It's like, it's not necessarily a conspiracy theory, but it's like a human element theory. So do you remember back to the spring when Jax Ulbrich prank called Shedeur Sanders?
Yeah.
Now I Googled to make sure that Jax Ulbrich is over 18 years old because I would hate to, say anything negative about a kid. But he's not a kid. He's 21. So he prank called Shedeur's and he was like, hey, we're drafting you, blah, 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 blah. It wasn't true, obviously. But Coach Ulbrich has been a man on fire since that day, in my opinion. And I think that his guys ride for him. And I think that that's very telling. And you get so much out of these young players, but also just this is like total human element conspiracy theory. But I think that he has been a man on fire since that day. And he knew that, like, not a hot seat situation, but like the room is burning a little bit around me. And I better put this thing out.
If
and
it
the
doesn't
easiest
work.
way to do that is to win in the National Football League and to lean on your defense. And they've done that. You give a lot of credit to that group. And also they just got a couple X-Men on offense. This guy, Drake London, is, and I've talked about it before, you want to have your receiver room set up to be like, or your skills like a basketball team. Okay, that's my stretch 3. That's my point guard guy. And they've got that stretch 3 in Drake London that's so much bigger than the guy he's going to be bodying up, and his hands are so strong. And that was on display last night. And that's a quarterback's best friend. Size, strong hands. They're fun to watch. And Bijan is just, they shot him out of a SpaceX rocket launcher last night for that 81-yard touchdown. It's just unbelievable.
It was so cool watching him on that run. But even on like the small runs, even like the 5-yard gains are so cool. Because like he's always making somebody miss. And on the big 81-yard touchdown run, he got a run down by a commander in the Commanders game, and everybody made fun of him. So this game, he was like, okay, just nobody's going to catch me. But for the Bills, I'm concerned about a defense that was old, slow, and small last year, added 1 player in the secondary to make them faster, and he hasn't seen the field yet. Maxwell Hairston has been hurt, so you can't really like blame him for that. But your entire thing was you had to get faster in the secondary. You only added 1 player to get faster in the secondary, and you still wonder why your secondary is slow. Like Taylor Rapp went out. You have to play Jordan Poyer for important snaps on this defense. This defense is small. The thing about NFL defense is you can either choose to be small or choose to be slow, and the Bills chose both. You can't choose to be both and just hope for Ed Oliver or Deion Walker, who played phenomenally. You can't hope for them just to create splash plays every single game.
I always say that about prospects. I'm like, you can be on the slower end or you could be on the shorter or like smaller end. You can't be both. Small and slow does not work in the NFL. It is a big athletes.
There's
game.
so many ways this conversation can go, but we'll just move on.
And I'll just finish with this. I do worry that they're also like so very dependent on Joey Bosa as one of their best players too. Like it's Joey Bosa and Ed Oliver are like doing the heavy lifting for this team. And Joey Bosa, just like, if you're going to rely on Joey Bosa, just know that he's probably the most oft-injured defensive end in maybe NFL history. That guy cannot, unfortunately, stay healthy.
Can we give credit to that primetime environment, though? And the primetime record for the Falcons is really impressive, but like it's evidenced by last night when they're doing that aerial shot of the stadium. It just looked like the final boss at Doom lived at that building. And then, those uniforms are incredible. I think the color red really does something for your psyche, whatever it is. And I think they should keep the logo at center field, like at the 50-yard line, like they have it. They should keep the jerseys as like their main home jerseys. It looks unbelievable. I got to call Matt Ryan and get him to put a word in with Mr. Blank, because me likey that.
The double throwbacks with the Bills wearing their throwback jerseys and the Falcons wearing their throwbacks. I thought they should have went with like a prime time, like retro theme, where they like really lean into the fact that this game is like straight from the 70s. It would have been super cool. I think.
Well, that's what CBS did. With
exactly,
Seattle, Tampa Bay, they even made the score bug a little bit more minimal and old school.
Yeah, like I think teams need to lean into that a lot more. And it's just the Falcons are fun, and it's fun to get a team that's really good on defense. They're first in the NFL in defensive yards allowed per game. Like this team, we didn't think that the defense would be the star of the show, which is a good thing for this offense, because as the offense continues to figure itself out, they know that the defense will have their back, and that's going to make them really scary come a late playoff time.
Yeah, I am excited about the Falcons, also because I had a lot of Falcons overs preseason, and that's always a good thing. All right, let's get to Brian Callahan news. Obviously, Brian Callahan out as the Titans head coach. We talked about this. The guy was speed running the get fired playbook. The only thing missing was he didn't get to fire his OC or his DC. He didn't get to blame someone else besides himself. He stepped down here after 6 weeks. And this stat I found just incredible. Found this per Evan Abrams of the Action Network. He was 4-19 against the spread, Brian Callahan. The worst of any coach in the past 20 years since that started being recorded as a real thing. Yeah, you could be bad, but they were also bad versus expectations consistently. This one, pretty much a no-brainer in my eyes.
It took him longer. It took him shorter to get fired than it did for me to get kicked out of his dad's offensive line interview in the pre-draft process. He sat me down at the table. He showed me something on the board. He said, "Who are you blocking here?" And I took half a beat. He goes, "Oh, our quarterback's dead. Hey, coach, come in here. Take over this one. This guy can't play for me."
I'd also argue that he did do the fire the OC or the play caller, because he was the play caller and he fired himself. So
that's a good point. That's a good point.
It's tough for Brian Callahan to be the offense guy and also bring in his legendary father as offensive line coach, and neither of those things be good. Like, that's the biggest thing. You can't be the offensive, like, the reason they hired you was because you were the QB whisperer to Joe Burrow and Jake Browning, and then the offense just never gets off its feet. I honestly thought they probably should have fired him at the end of last year, because they fired the GM, and now the Titans have continued to be in this cycle of you hire a new GM, fire the old head coach. Then you fire the GM, and then hire a new GM, and then you fire the head coach again. And you just keep going on this cycle. You're never going to get off until you completely clean house, which I don't think they're going to do at this point, because Mike Borgonzoni is in his first year, but this rarely ever works. So eventually they're going to have to get off this cycle, and it sucks for Cam Ward because he is very fun, very talented, but it doesn't look like it's getting good anytime soon.
Just wait till they sign Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown here in the coming weeks, okay?
Well, the thing that also sucks about being in a cycle like that is the best head coaches or best head coaching candidates are going to look at that job and be like, why do I want to be in this dysfunctional organization that keeps cycling through head coaches the way they have it? And even if you win coach of the year and exceed expectations consistently, shoot, you could still be out the door after one bad season, the way they did with Mike Vrabel. So I do think that they're just in a bad spot. And Cam Ward has looked good in my eyes. Like, I believe But has he looked good enough to convince someone where it's like, I have to go there like that? I'm going to succeed with Cam Ward, because the rest of this roster is so far away. We've talked about it a bunch, but it's so far away. Like truly 2 to 3 wide receivers, 2 to 3 offensive linemen, like probably, at least 2 edge rushers. Like they need every valuable position outside of quarterback. They need help at. So yeah, I'm worried that this could get ugly. Like for Cam Ward's development, you might not get a guy, everyone's like, let's get Joe Brady. Let's get one of the hot head coaching candidates at OC. It's like, these guys might not want to come there, unfortunately.
Especially Joe Brady. Like, if hypothetically speaking, the Bengals job opens up, that's a much better job than the Titans. You get to go be with the guys that you took to a national championship at LSU. Hypothetically, if things hit the fan, I know Bills fans have really, really wanted to fire Sean McDermott. If Sean McDermott gets fired, why not promote Joe Brady in that scenario? So it feels like the Titans are getting ahead of this, which is a good thing. But I don't know how much that's going to help them find a coach that's – this feels like a hire Mike McCarthy and try and get to a respectable level before going and getting your guy.
Matt Nagy. Okay, Mike Borgonzi came from where? Came from Kansas City. If the Kansas City Chiefs do what my brain is telling me is going to happen to the Kansas City Chiefs, which is beat a lot of football teams en route to another AFC championship. Sorry, this is my week 6 hot take, by the way. The Chiefs are going to run the table in the AFC. Matt Nagy is going to be in line to be a head coach. And who does he work really well with? Quarterbacks. They need some guidance there. He's a cool young guy. I feel like he deserves a second chance. What say you guys about my Matt Nagy hot take?
Would he want to? You got a good thing going there.
He wants to be a head coach, in my opinion. He's got a great thing. He's got a great. I mean, yeah. He's a head coach, dude. He won Coach of the Year. He's not a guy who dipped his toes into the head coach seat and then didn't like the temperature. He loved it, and I saw it firsthand, and he was good at it. And you give him a guy like Cam Ward, and you let them start to figure out what's important on the roster. Obviously, offensive line is a place where they need to get better at, but I say it would be fun.
It would at least be your best shot of eliminating that friction that comes from having a GM and a head coach be kind of separate. They wouldn't.
They know each other.
There's an intimate relationship there already. So, yeah, I mean that would be a solid path for the Titans, in my opinion.
I do wonder if the whole part of the reason why he went back to Kansas City is that in the event that Andy Reid decides to hang him up at the end of this year, like he's the next guy in line. I do think Adam Schefter reported yesterday that the leading candidates right now are Matt Nagy and, in a surprising twist of fate, Arthur Smith as the head coaching leaderboard for the Titans, which both would be funny. Arthur Smith would be hilarious.
So Nags was on that list. Okay, so I'm not too far out in left field there with this. Okay.
But so Andy Reid's 67, Matt Nagy's 47. I was just thinking he's just going to outlast. Like basically like, hey, Reid's probably not going to coach a decade more. I don't know, 5 more years, 6 more years max. It's like you take over with Pat
and there's
Mahomes.
4 guys in that building, Mike, who could be the guy, in my opinion. You're looking at Tobe, the special teams coach. You're looking at Nags, obviously, in the offensive side of the ball. Spags is a guy who's always like, no, I don't like, I just want to be but if somebody hands you the keys to that, you make sure you got the right offensive coordinator. You make sure you pay Patrick Mahomes or whatever he needs to get paid, and you go win some damn ball games, right? I mean, no, you never know how these horse races turn out. A guy like Spags could jump up and be like, you know what? One more time. One more time.
All right, there's our Monday Night Football recap. Brian Callahan recap. We're going to take a quick break. After that, our trench takes and film review. Coming up next.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
Trench takes. Okay, what's up, guys? It's what is it? Tuesday. It's Victory Tuesday for the Chicago Bears, so it's time for the Trench Take, sponsored by Nationwide. Just like any good O-lineman can protect the quarterback and open lanes for the run game, Nationwide offers great insurance and great financial services. Nationwide is on your side. Okay, I bring up the Bears because I'm watching the Bears last night, and there's this guy that goes by the moniker the Canadian Eagle. His name is Theo Benedette. And by every measurable statistic, this guy is not supposed to be enjoying success in the National Football League. Mike made the joke, this guy was a second-round pick in the CFL. And to that I say, this guy battles his ass off, and I appreciate offensive linemen that are out there going against these warlocks, wizards, dragons, and hellhounds out there on the defensive line. My point is this: there's a distinction between the most talented guy on the field, and we said Darnell Wright might have been the best player on the football field last night at certain points in the game. That's a guy that was touched by God with two hands, size, ferocity, length. I mean, everything you would want in an offensive tackle. And then there's guys like Theo Benedette, who is also a fantastic athlete. I mean, relative to just John Q. Public, these guys are all aliens. But Darnell Wright is a physical specimen, in my opinion. You could feature the offense around him. But there exists in the offensive line community, more often than not, guys like Theo Benedette. And the one guy that comes to mind that made a living, the best living I can imagine, is Mitch Schwartz. Now, Mitch Schwartz, okay, here's the things I wrote down. So there's a distinction between the talented guy who can do his own thing and get away with it, and an offensive lineman who makes the most of the starting role and does everything by the book, predictable in sets, technique, and finish. And this message to the young offensive linemen: do not get wandering eyes when it comes to some of the sexy thing these offensive linemen are doing, okay? You can't expect to watch Trent Williams and learn how to play the game of football. When I was playing, there was a couple guys that I said, I can't watch that because I can't do that physically. Like, I cannot do the things that – I can't cut this guy off on the backside. I can't cut off this three technique when I'm the backside tackle. Trent Williams makes it look easy. I would watch guys like Joe Tooney when I was in Kansas City in the screen game, and he was so patient, and his understanding of space and time was just not something that my brain resonated with, but I could work on my technique. And I watched guys like Mitch Schwartz when he was in the National Football League, and he had it down to a science. Okay. He wasn't going to out athlete anybody. He wasn't going to outstrength any of these guys, but he relied on his technique. He was predictable in his preparation, and he had fantastic finish. And I think that you can be a great offensive lineman in this league if you focus on those things. Control the controllables. You'll never be able to have longer. You can't make your arms longer, okay? I can't make your first step out of your stance in pass pro look like Lane Johnson's. I just can't. There's not a steroid on earth. There's not an amphetamine out there that'll make you that twitchy, okay? But you can set your watch to offensive linemen who are technically sound, who prepare in the weight room, and who are ready to go to battle from snap to whistle and sometimes a little bit after that. And what I saw last night from Theo Benedette was a guy in the run game who was willing to do that. Finish piles, go down the field, help your guy up off the ground. In pass pro, do not allow guys to win inside. Make them go the long way. And when they decide to go the long way, don't let up. Turn it into a run block right past your quarterback and allow your guy to make a play. I got to tip my cap to the Canadian Eagle, okay? And I look forward to watching more of him. And that's my trench take on last night's game. And I know I talked about a few things, but the message is this: go watch a guy who has had to work very hard for what he has, and you will learn more football than watching the freak shows, okay? And the second thing I've got is just my appreciation for screen game in the National Football League. There's so many types of screens we see every week now, and coordinators are getting better at them. And with that, we've had to progress as offensive linemen with our understandings of it. Drew Dahlman last night did a great job out there on the left hash. It was a slow screen, almost a tunnel screen action. And just at a certain point, you never see players standing still on the field after a snap. There was a point in the play where he got out to his spot and he just sat there like a dog waiting for an order. And then I could watch him, and in his head he was going 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and right on that 3, and he was shot out of a cannon up the field. And you can tell a lot about an offensive lineman's understanding of football, where his eyes go in the screen game. Drew Dahlman kept his eyes inside because where are these sons of bucks coming from? They're coming from the middle of the field. They're retracing from across the field. That's where first downs turn into touchdowns. I give credit to Drew Dahlman as well in the screen game, and all the offensive linemen who are being asked to run outside the numbers, sprint like a racehorse. I mean, I would have hated playing offense today because they got to run so damn much. That's my trench take. Sponsored by Nationwide. Nationwide. Get it. I just got to get the flow in and then do it. Okay, that was the trench take. Sponsored by Nationwide. Nationwide, so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services too. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side. Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.
All right, 2 things. One, you were talking about the Bears O-line, but did you see the fake wide screen? I mean, obviously you saw it. It was the touchdown. But that they threw an offensive lineman out on the fake wide screen touchdown? I'm not sure I've seen it. They threw – so Tunsil runs wide like he's going to be blocking a tunnel screen on that. I'm not sure I've seen the fake screen over the top. I can't remember who caught it now, the touchdown that Jane did.
It's that pump,
yes.
Tunnel screen pump go.
I'm not sure I've seen one with an offensive. I'm sure it's happened before, but with an offensive lineman that far out and everyone bit on it. I mean, you had the linebackers biting on it, you had the safeties biting on it. It really got everyone. And then 2, it's funny, like you're talking about guys who aren't the most physically gifted and how offensive line, like you could be Mitchell Schwartz, who ran, I'm looking at his numbers here, 5'4", 540,
7'2", 40.
7'5" broad jump, 26.5-inch vertical. He's decidedly not an RAS guy, but I think it's one of the position groups on the field that don't have to be to play well. Like it's very much, it's not called a skill position, but it is a skill position. And it's funny because I was on the Shrine Bowl scouting call last week and we're debating this guy, Brian Parker from Duke. And we're talking about, why am I higher on him than the other people on the call? And I was saying, because to me, offensive line and what I'm scouting first and foremost is a guy's coordination along the offensive line. If you are coordinated, and it's why so many tight ends end up being good offensive linemen, because if you're coordinated, you can be coached and you have the size. You can get to a level of offensive line play that you could play
serviceable.
In the league. That's serviceable. Exactly. Now it obviously helps to be a freak athlete, and the elite ones tend to be freak athletes also. But in terms of the guy you want as your 6th offensive lineman, give me a guy who is highly coordinated but low athlete rather than a high-end athlete who's low-end coordination. That guy could easily be a liability. The high-end coordination guy, I mean, he's still not going to be great if he's a poor athlete, but he can at least stick around the NFL.
I think it's super important to make that point because the best at the position, they make offensive line play look boring. The best are quiet. It's not always the emphatic, like snatch trap, you're pancaking people every play. It's quiet. It's boom, 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 refitting the hands. You're not getting close to the quarterback. And I think in a lot of ways, it's really similar to playing corner. And I think the best at the cornerback spot are boring. They are inherently boring because they never get the ball thrown at them. It's always like we talk about mute buttons for both sides of the ball. They are the mute buttons. They are, if you want to study these guys, study the boring ones, because those are the guys that play a long time in the NFL and constantly, regardless of athletic tools or athletic limitations, they will always be on the field because they know angles of departure, they know hand timing, they know refitting. They have so many different plans against different guys. And I think that's what separates a good offensive lineman who's a great athlete from a great offensive lineman who might not be as good of an athlete.
I want to just hammer home what you said about guys having noisy sets, like loud. The best compliment you can get as an offensive lineman is that you have quiet technique in terms of like everything is quiet. Guys like Zach Martin were just quiet. Like you didn't armless from the back. When you're looking at it on the end zone tape, it's elbows inside, feet look the same all the time. I think that's really important. All right,
JP, let's get to your playbook.
All right. So first play in the playbook. We are in the era of the two-way player. Travis Hunter, obviously the most prominent two-way player. I'm going to introduce another one to you guys. Colts wide receiver Ashton Dulin. We talked about it a little bit on our Sunday night show. Charvarius Ward gets knocked out, like literally knocked out in pregame warmups. There is nobody left in the secondary to play. Lou Anarumo's looking for answers. Here comes number 16 at receiver, Ashton Dulin. Put me in, coach. And this play, it honestly is a great play by Jacoby Brissett. It is the longest third down conversion the Cardinals have had all season. But I wanted to highlight this play largely because if I'm talking to guys that want to play football at the next level, make yourself useful in every single area of the game. This was Ashton Dulin's only defensive snap of the season. He's getting put in the middle of the week, a close game against Arizona. This is a game that's still in the balance. And Lou Anarumo is designing a loop for him to come all the way around to the backside. And he honestly gets low-key a free run until Emery DeMercado notices him late. And you see what Anarumo did. And this is something that he did a lot in this game. He will force the Cardinals to full slide their protection one way and leave the running back on the other side. And so you get this with Ashton Dulin as your free runner on the other side. And it's just hilarious because Dulin has no experience rushing the passer. But the fact that he's in there trying to make that play, the fact that he's like, okay, I'll go do it. He plays special teams. He makes big catches on offense. He is the core, like, when we talk about NFL teams, a lot of times it's your foundation of your team, your floor of the roster is built on days 2, day 3 of the NFL draft. Your undrafted guys, those are the type of guys that you're going to need to make plays when everybody's hurt. So I just wanted to shout out Ashton Dulin, who was out there rushing the passer. I hope we get more two-way players. We already have at the college level, Caden Proctor. Let him keep getting running and receiving reps. I want him lined up everywhere. I want him lined up as a quarterback. I want him lined up wildcat. You know, I think we should get more defensive players, offensive snaps, and just keep flipping them because opposing coaches never going to guess it. We talked about the Bears a little bit. I want to see Montez Sweat lined up at tight end. I always want to see it. Go real like 13 personnel. Get Kmet, get Loveland, get Montez Sweat out there. Montez Sweat's an awesome athlete. Let's just see it. I want to see what happens. I want to see if they can try it. So
Trayvon
I want
Walker, that's who needs to play tight end. I remember that fumble he picked up last year where he just like was going off after. Put that guy at tight end. He runs a 4.51. Why not?
I used to think that if coaches would put guys like Tyreek Hill in that NASCAR package, it would, like, I would go to sleep on Saturday night and I would have a nightmare about, oh my God, they're putting him out there to rush. Like, I'm in so much trouble. I mean, I'm watching this guy, Ashton Dulin, run the long way on this pick tough. And it's like, if you're a better athlete than these guys, you should be able to win, particularly in the pass rush department. I love what you said. The more you can do and your roster sinks to the level of your success sinks to the level of where you're at from those late round guys. That's a very, very true statement.
All right. My next playbook play. We're going to the Rico Dowdle revenge game featuring the Carolina Panthers run game. Sorry, Harry, beforehand. But against the Cowboys, this had a chance to be a shootout, had a chance to be one of the high-scored like passing games because the Cowboys are just not a very good pass defense. Instead, the Panthers decided to go Stone Cold Steve Austin, open up a can of whoop ass on the ground against the Cowboys. And the way I think they did it is so fascinating because last week against the Dolphins, it was less man and power and gap schemes and more inside-outside zone. This game, again, opening up the can of whoop ass and going hat on a hat, power game. We're doing man. And the biggest way that they did it was they used motion to manipulate the tackle box. So on this play, you see Teteroa McMillan lined up on the backside. He's the only backside receiver outside of Tommy Tremble who's attached to the line of scrimmage. And he's going to go in this orbit motion. And once he goes in orbit motion, you're going to see the Cowboys linebackers in second level, including safety Donovan Wilson, bump because they're obviously trying to account for the numbers that are on the other side now. The problem is you are bumping a big guy out of the tackle box, little guy into the tackle box. And when you're already playing light boxes as you're already playing small, if you're the Cowboys, you're already playing light boxes, you're already in nickel and you have a safety walked up, you're going to get Donovan Wilson against a lot of guys that are a lot bigger than him. So Teteroa McMillan goes in motion and they're running misdirection. This is we're getting double teams. We're getting hats on a hat. We're getting the tight end isolated on this backside defensive end. And we're going to wrap this wide receiver, Bryson Tremaine. No idea. He popped during the preseason. He blocks his butt off. And that's what will get you on the field. I say it all the time. No block, no rock. He is going to get on the field because he blocks. And Rico Dowdle is going to take this false step one way. And he's going to go right up the middle. But what you're going to see on this play is left guard, left tackle, Ike Mekwonu and Damian Lewis. That is Kenny Clark they are blocking. Not an easy guy to move in the run game. They push him to Asheville. He goes completely across the hash. So you see there on the left hash right here, they take Kenny Clark from one side of the hash mark to the other side. Right there. I think we should have it like a clicker. Number 95 is close to Xavier Legette. That's where Kenny Clark is right now. And then you see tight end Tommy Tremble, who is taking Marshawn Nealon and blocking him 12 yards downfield. That is a statement level type of run. That is we are going to come out and we're going to hit you in the mouth and you have to stop it. In this game, the Panthers did not have a run over 15 yards. This was ethical, moral hoops, which is we're going to line up, we're running power, we're running counter. You're going to have to stop it. You're going to have to line up, you have to buckle up the chin strap, and you're going to have to come hit us. And they ran the Cowboys over in a Rico Dowdle revenge game. That's a really cool moment for him. He said after the game, they had to buckle up, and they weren't buckled up, and it was clear. The Cowboys did not buckle up. They were not ready for this game, and like I said, they opened up a can of whoop ass.
Love this play. Couple notes. Ike Ekwonu has fantastic body angle. Okay. And I also think that if you watch the video, it's available on JP's Twitter. That's Acosta32_JP. Old 79 over here at the left tackle spot knows where to fit his hands. And I'm glad you said you took him on a ride because he took him across the hash and down the field. And you even got an understep from the left guard, which is not an offense. It's not Joe Gilbert's ideal technique there, but Ike Ekwonu, so much power and so much intent and great body angle. He's able to just roll that 3 technique out of the hole. And as far as the most impressive thing on this play, it's 82 Tommy Tremble, and I'm glad you pointed it out. But one thing you can't see on the still shots is that Tommy Tremble does something that every offensive line coach tells his guys to do. It's refit your hands. Oftentimes when the D-line and the O-line or the tight end get engaged, my hands may be here, your hands may be inside of mine. So you have the advantage. So how do you fix that? You refit your hand. You can't do it at once, because if you do it 2 at the same time, you're head over, what do they say? Ass over tea kettle. Is that what they say? But if you refit your hands like Tommy Tremble does on this play, you've got a fighting chance, and more than that on this rep. I love this play, dude.
And one of the things I'll say about the Panthers offensive line that we've actually talked about in a negative manner with the Bengals about how there's not like a continuity in the body types. There is continuity in the body types of this Panthers offensive line. They're left tackle, left guard, even center in Cade Mays now. There is just it's just Quad City. It's the Quad Cities there. You got just guys who are built low to the earth, not even necessarily low to the earth. Cade Mays is like 6'5", but like who have low center of mass. They have thick legs and can get low, and you just see it on the doubles. I mean, like when Ike Ekwonu and Damian Lewis, I think Damian Lewis is 6'2", Ike's like 6'4". It's like when those two hit, they're hitting the same point of force. Like there's not one's higher, one's lower. It's like
they're
you're
not
both
working
hitting,
against each other.
exactly. There you go. So you're hitting the same point of force, and that's when you really can displace a guy like Kenny Clark, and there's not shit he can do about it, unfortunately.
You know, when there's two boats with wakes, and every once in a while the wakes hit, and then it's like boom, and it's that energy spiking upwards, and you get a giant wave. That is what happens when two guys are in sync in the double team department, and that's what we see here, and that's what's missing in Philadelphia right now. So they can't get those fits in the double team department. I know we're not talking Philly. I figured I'd take my shots on those suckers while they're down a little bit.
And Mike, you mentioned that the Panthers know who they are in the body types up front. They have a gimmick. When you talk about pro wrestling, if you know your gimmick, you can go really far. The Panthers know who they are. And that's not even accounting for Robert Hunt, Taylor Moton, who both didn't play in this game. Yeah. Both those guys, ass kickers up front.
Yes.
We are going to hit guys in the mouth, man, power, counter. We are going to be physical. Actually, on the first play of the game, I almost chose this for the playbook. The first play of the game, they run duo and run for 9 yards behind Mitchell Evans, also taking Marshawn Nealon to the woodshed on this play. So run blocking takes everybody. It is a team, it's a unit thing. And the fact that you're getting tight ends blocking the way they are, you get your wide receivers incorporated, and the Panthers run game up front really leaning into the strengths of we are going to be big, we're going to be physical, we're going to lean on you. It gives them an identity, and it gives them a lot of ways to kind of help Bryce Young not have to do everything in this offense.
Whew. Yeah, I could watch the Panthers run the football all day long.
That was fun.
JP's Playbook. Let's get to my draft report, not rookie report. I'm going to start trying to talk about rookies more on the previews, reviews, and make this into more of a draft segment because, fellas, we're at draft season for a lot of these teams. If you're a Jets fan, if you're a Saints fan, we're taking eyes to the draft. And I want to start with this because I think this is the best position group in the class. It's not going to be the highest drafted. It's been devalued. Linebackers, though. This is a sick linebacker class. We've discussed what new age linebackers, what you're coveting at the linebacker position early nowadays. It's not just a guy who could be a good cover linebacker. I think cover linebackers, I don't want to say they're a dime a dozen, but the cover linebacker sort of wave is out of vogue. Your Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah's, of course, he's not playing this year, but like that's not what people are looking for in the early rounds anymore. What you're looking for is the Jihad Cables, the Carson Swessingers, the guys that go in the 240 range, but run like they're in the 220 range. You want big athletes who can add on to your blitz packages. And boy, does this linebacker class have it. There's 5 guys that I think are legitimate top 50 threats. If not, I mean, at worst, probably top 75 threats. And we have not had more than 3 linebackers go top 75 since 2022. So it's been a while since we've seen a good linebacker class. This one is it. I have to start with the Ohio State duo because Ohio State right now possesses a linebacker duo that is more athletic than any linebacker duo in the NFL. Truly. There is not a linebacker duo in the NFL that holds a candle to what we are going to see at the combine from these two. It's Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles. They are both 6'4", in the 240 range. They are both, Sonny Styles is definitely going to run the 4.4s. I think Arvell Reese could, maybe more likely in the 4.5s, but like 6'5", 6'4", 240 running in the 4.4.
4.5 or 4.4 is the same thing at that size, buddy.
Exactly.
Okay. Let me tell you. And he's 20 years old, Arvell Reese.
Yes.
He is 20 years old. And the statement you made about that linebacker room disgusts me, but I have to believe you. Now I can't wait to see these guys on the NFL field.
They are incredibly athletic. Sonny Styles is a former safety, and just moving him when he played safety, it was like, oh wow, that guy should be a linebacker. And now you move him to linebacker, it's like, oh my God, this guy is a freak athlete who just has incredible range.
Yeah, I believe Sonny Styles. So Reese is 20. Styles is also 20, even though he's a senior. So he was super young for his grade. That's why he came back to school. And both those guys could legitimately go in the first round. I don't think that would be crazy, especially this class isn't super top heavy. There aren't a lot of true first round grades I have at this point in time. So Reese and Styles, legit first round potential. Those guys are out of their mind. Styles definitely more of a second level player. Reese is the better blitzer. They literally use him as an edge rusher, and he gets home a lot. Could be a hybrid type defender for you, or you could just play him off the edge too. But those two going to be highly touted. But then there's also another guy in the state of Ohio that I have been floored with this season. His name's Jake Golday. I think he was a former defensive end, started his career at defensive end, has moved off ball, and he's 6'4". Another guy's 6'4", 240, and runs like the wind, like hits like 21, 22 miles per hour on the GPS regularly. The guy can really roll, and he is everywhere for UC's defense this year. And these are, again, those are the body types that you draft highly. The guys that look like defensive ends, run like safeties. Those are guys that you feel very good about them translating in just the way the position's played in today's NFL. And then there's two other guys I think are going to go pretty high. CJ Allen from Georgia, the one guy in this list that's not in that mold. He's 6'1", 235. This is your, hey, do we need to get better in run defense? Yes, we're drafting CJ Allen. He is an absolute monster in run defense. Think like a stronger version of Nakobe Dean out of Georgia. That's like what you're getting. It's just this guy who, when he's coming downhill, he's out for blood. He's going to hit like a brick. And I feel very good about him translating in the running game at minimum. And then Anthony Hill Jr. from Texas, who is just kind of a do-it-all athlete. He's might be, of all these guys, just like the smoothest mover on this list. Like, he's the guy that if you wanted to play at tight end, if any of these guys, I'm like, let's throw him to tight end, Anthony Hill's the one. He moves so easily at the second level. He's making a lot of plays on the ball this year. So those are your five that, like, hey, do we need a linebacker? You're probably going to be looking at one of those five. But then even after the top five, we have guys in Whit Weeks, Lane Kiffin's stepson from LSU, Red Murdoch from Buffalo, who is going to, if he continues at this pace, he's going to break Khalil Mack's forced fumble record in college football. He has 14 forced fumbles in 2.5 years as a starter right now at Buffalo. If you haven't watched Red Murdoch tape in Buffalo, the guy
best name ever.
That's an NFL linebacker ass name.
Yes, he hits like an absolute brick. I love watching his tape. Torian York from Texas A&M, super instinctive. He may not go high because he doesn't have great traits. He's on the smaller side for the position, but he is a guy that's going to play in the league for a long time. Harold Perkins from LSU, still kind of an interesting prospect. Everyone remembers him as a true freshman when he was 17 years old at LSU, rushing the passer like a monster, but he really hasn't developed into edge rushing size in the league. Still kind of taken to off-ball linebacker towards ACL last year. We'll see how he turns out, but definitely you can't deny that guy's uber talented. Lander Barton from Utah, who is legitimately playing two ways this year. He plays tight end and off-ball linebacker at Utah. His brother, obviously, Cody Barton, playing in the league right now. And then Kyle Lewis from Pittsburgh. He's one of your actual undersized off-ball coverage guys that, again, I said they're not going to be coveted super highly. Those not where the NFL game's going, but I still like his game. So the linebacker class, keep an eye on it. If you need one, you're probably going to be in luck this year.
I freaking love CJ Allen. I know that, like, Arvo Reese is probably might be the best player in this draft class, pound for pound. But CJ Allen, I love watching him fit the run because there is a disposition to how he fits the run. There is an anger and a force that he plays with when he fits the run. That's something that a lot of teams, especially as NFL offenses get bigger, a lot more gap and power schemes in the NFL now, you need somebody that's going to want to thud up a 330-pound guard. You're going to want somebody that wants to go hit a guy that's a little bit bigger than him and put him on his butt. And I think that CJ Allen is that guy, especially when it comes to the range that he has as a run defender. I think there's still some stuff that he's learning as just defending the pass and some of the range that he has there, but he's still only 20 years old, which is something that we're going to say a lot for all these linebackers. They are all incredibly young. And I think that's what's going to get a lot of these guys drafted early, because we talk about linebacker a lot, how the runway for growth is such a long one, where we're talking about guys that are really starting to hit their peak at their contract year because they need the reps in the NFL. These guys are going to be 23, 24 by the time their first contract is up. that runway for growth is going to be super long. I'd also add Jacob Rodriguez. He's an older prospect. He's a former quarterback. He just knows where the ball is. And that's a guy where, like, maybe day 2, day 3, the first guy I thought of, funny enough, was Malcolm Rodriguez. When I watched Jacob Rodriguez, just the older.
I couldn't believe they weren't related. Honestly, when I watched them, I'm like, they have to be brothers, right? Yeah, like they played so similarly.
They play the exact same way of just they always know where the ball is going to be. And I think that's going to really translate to the NFL. But this linebacker class rules. I love watching linebacker play. I love watching defensive play, and this linebacker class is awesome.
I'll say this about CJ Allen. He looks last year, if you would have told me he was Jalen Walker's like little brother, I would have believed you. I was just like, they play the same way. They're just like the same brand of football. They're kind of built similarly. Jalen Walker just like a little bit bigger, just like a little bit broader, but like that's the type of player that CJ Allen is. So yeah,
football guy, big football guy.
He's just like, he's going to be good. Like there's just no way that guy.
Just go get Brian Urlachers. Just go get 6'5", 240 guys that can run sideline to sideline with anybody that want to meet you in the A gap or the B gap and stand on business. Just go find a Brian Urlacher out there.
And that's why I'm hyped about this linebacker class, because there's
not
Brian Urlachers.
It sounds like this guy Arvell is like one of those ones.
But there are some. Yes,
he's awesome. Just awesome player.
All right, there's our initial draft report. We'll get to some other position groups as the season wears on. We're going to take a quick break, though, and get to our upon further review segment to cap it off.
You can't count on Derek's tong skills.
Oh, Tony, I think it hit the ground.
But you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
All right, what's confirmed? What stands? What is overturned? First one up on the list, Aaron Glenn will be a one and done. JP.
I'm going to overturn this.
No.
And I'm overturning this largely because I think the Jets knew that this was going to take a long time to kind of get back going. But I will say I'm a little hesitant to overturn it because you can't get any worse on offense. You cannot keep tying your boat to Justin Fields when it is clear that he's not ready to play. He can't play behind that offensive line, even though the offensive line is pretty darn good. Like that, he continues to take sacks at a really, really high rate, just holding on to the ball. So unless they make a QB change, unless they want to make that switch, I feel like Aaron Glenn shouldn't be a one and done, largely because it's going to take a long time for this to get rolling around. But with some of the schematics, some of the structural issues they've had on defense, I wouldn't be surprised if this is only a year.
I'll say it stands. I'm not going to confirm it. Obviously, it's a long season, but here's the thing. At this rate, they're going to have a number one overall pick. And it'll probably be a fairly attractive job because the roster is not good, obviously, but it's not Titans bad. It's not Panthers bad from a couple of years ago when they had to rebuild around Bryce. It's like you're going to be rolling in with the number one overall. If you're rolling in with the number one overall pick and that roster with like what they currently have and like some of the young guys they have coming up, like a tackle duo, both on the rookie deals, there's building blocks in place. You'll be able to get an attractive head coaching candidate. I just think you will. And it's not that Aaron Glenn isn't, and it's not that he can't turn around. It's just that I would want to just instead of doing what we just did with Cam Ward and Brian Callahan and the potential of that, if it goes really south this year and you get the number one overall pick, fresh start, build from the bottom with the quarterback. I'm guessing they take a quarterback at one. Fresh start there and just see what you can do. So that's what I'm going to say stands.
Before the half pause where they ran out of time. So I'll preface it with this. Every coach that gets fired, there's a moment like that we remember about them. And I think that moment might have been too much for this group, and you can't recover from some things. That's what I'll say. And I'll say stands. I won't say confirmed, but stands.
All right, next one here. Panthers will finish above 500.
Can we go to commercial on this one?
Yeah.
Can I go to commercial on this
Bookmark.
one? Yeah, well, Yeah, well, can we get the Fox music or the
Here,
CBS music?
I can read out their schedule. So they're 3-3 right now. I'll read out their schedule. Jets, Bills, Packers, Saints, Falcons, 49ers, Rams, Saints, Bucks, Seahawks, Bucks. So I think Jets, Saints,
Overturned.
Saints are 3 that they'll for sure be favored in. I'm not sure there's another game on their schedule that I would bet they'll be favored in the rest of the way, but 3 more wins gets you to 6. So you got to sneak 3 more out of there, out of Bills, Packers, Falcons, 49ers, Rams, Bucks.
They never had possession. They never made a football move. They only had 1 foot inbounds. They wore the wrong color cleats.
Yep. The Bucks game, they get another Bucks game. That's the end of the season. And if the Bucks are going to be the number 1 seed, or the Bucks are going to have home field advantage, like, they're probably going to rest guys. So, I mean, I still want to go to commercial on this one because you're going to get wins from the Jets and 2 Saints games. But even the Saints game might be pretty tough because the Saints aren't going to roll over. But you're going to get a 49ers team that's going to be healthy at that point in the season.
Can we guarantee that?
That's true. We might not get a healthy 49ers team. We might get, at that point, you're going to get a healthy George Kittle and a healthy Brock Purdy and hopefully a healthy Ricky Pearsall and Jawan Jennings not playing with 7 broken bones. But you got to try and sneak one from the Bills, from the Packers. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Like, it's not like it's out of the realm of possibility.
Make the call, JP. You're looking into the thing. The clock's ticking. The fans are booing.
All right. Here's what I'm going to say. I am going to overturn this one, just for now, because I do want to see if this run game is sustainable against the run defense with a pulse. Like, if the Cowboys have been better defending the run, but the Dolphins are awful. The Cowboys also awful on defense. I want to see them play and run the ball effectively against a team that actually, like, has some saltiness in the run game. So if they can do that against teams that are a little bit higher quality, if Bryce Young can continue to play the way he is, I can see it happening. But I'm going to hold off for now.
I'm going to say stands. I'm going to let it stand. I think this running game is real. The O-line is real. You get Jalen Coker back. I still worry about the defense, but they've been able to cobble it together enough that, again, I think they pull off one. They get the week 18, so that gets them to 7 wins. They pull off one, whether it's like a Seahawks team who may not have much to play for in week 17, whether it's a 49ers team who could be even more banged up by then. You know, we're saying they get guys back, but they also could lose more guys at this rate with how things have gone. And then they put a hurt to the Falcons already. Who's to say they don't do it again? Yeah, give me stands. Give me stands on the Panthers.
Don't let the Saints get hot.
And plus, second half Bryce. Second half Bryce is just a different.
You're right.
You're right.
That's true.
You're right.
All right, next one here. Baker Mayfield is the front runner for MVP.
Confirmed. I'm confirming this one. When we talk about most valuable player, I know we sometimes do the take X player off the team and see what they are without him. I'm not doing that for Baker Mayfield. But what I am doing is go look at how many guys on the offense are not playing. Like, they've played this season without, at some point, Tristan Wirfs. They've played without Chris Godwin. They played without Mike Evans. They played without Bucky Irving. They played without Emeka Egbuka. They've played without Luke Gedeke. They played without Cody Mauch. You're missing, at some point, you're missing 3 starters on the offensive line, your top 2 receivers, your best running back, and they are still, like, I think they're 5-1.
Yep.
They're 5-1. Our best record in the NFL.
Tied with the Colts.
Beating quality teams like the Seahawks. And it always comes down to the wire for them. It always comes down to Baker Mayfield needing to make a play. And that's what an MVP is. An MVP is when you can count on a player the most to go and get you a bucket. Baker Mayfield's getting you a bucket. Like I said, I've already seen the Baker Mayfield Jack Sparrow edits. I said that he is Baker Mayfield is the one quarterback that resembles and embodies the mascot of his team more than anybody else in the NFL. Just sort of the recklessness, the the controlled recklessness. But his scrambles have done such a huge thing for his offense. And yeah, I'd say he's the front runner right now, especially given where the Bucs are as arguably the best team in the NFL.
He is a guy that rises all ships. I mean, he's unbelievable and somebody that just can inspire, in the way that I've talked about Mahomes and being in the locker room with Patrick. It's like we've always got a chance with this guy on our sideline. I mean, it's the same thing with Baker, dude, with the way that they win football games, the way he gets out of tough situations. He's special. It's hard to argue, but if I was to argue, I would be like, Jonathan Taylor is pretty unreal as well. And I know this is like a quarterback award, but if quarterbacks weren't allowed, I would be like standing on the table for Jonathan Taylor and his ability to make that offense so dangerous, not only with running the football, but opening up the passing game for guys like Tyler Warren. Mike, you know how I feel about Tyler Warren, but yeah, Jonathan Taylor's my rebuttal.
I'm going to confirm this. Everything JP said, I'm in complete agreement with. All right, next one. In a 2024 redraft, Drake May would go first overall.
Oh, man.
Kyle, I'll start with you.
Go to commercial.
Never come back.
Give me the telestrator. I'm going to write, I quit.
Oh, man. As much as I want to say it stands, I also kind of want to go to commercial here because Jaden Daniels also is awesome. And I think it's more just about like what you want in your quarterback,
Yes.
what you pick your flavor of quarterback. Whereas Jaden Daniels is going to be a bit more pinpoint with the with his running, with the explosiveness. Drake May offers so much when it comes to 40-yard handoffs, just the deep ball accuracy, the pocket maneuvering. They do the same things well, but they do it differently. And I think that's really cool to see how they've both grown and how Drake May has grown in just the command and control of the offense. We say a lot the game is slowed down for a guy. The game is slowed down for Drake May, and he's just the movement in the pocket, the way that he's able to extend plays. That stuff is going to translate. But I also just think Jaden Daniels is awesome, phenomenal player. And I don't know. Like I really want to say May because it would be confirming my priors. I had him as QB1 in that draft. But I don't know. Jaden Daniels is still awesome.
I'm
This
just
is
going
a
to go
loaded question.
Kyle, we can go to commercial break for you, but I will say
I can't hear anything.
I'll say stands, and I'll say this. If you polled all 32, I think, decision makers, whoever makes the final decision for the drafting teams, you would get a split. It would be one of these two, obviously, but you would get a big split. I think you would probably have more go Drake May, though, just because of the old cliche of like offense coordinators want to control everything. He is a guy that plays more, just like what you do is more traditional drop back passing. With Jaden Daniels, you do have to change the offense to revolve around his legs if you want to maximize, if you want to get to the high highs that he brings to the table. And we've already seen that and lead to some injuries. He already got hurt. This season has missed a couple of games. Obviously, not to say that's like he's going to be off injured, but like Lamar's been off injured. The guys who really run a lot and they're built skinny like that, they're going to miss a few games here and there. That's not going to, be a massive deal. It's not going to sway me to not pick him at all, but it's like, I think that would break a tie for a lot of teams. But also it's one of those things where if you're asking OCs, I think they'd rather have May. If you're asking DCs, they would rather go against May. They don't want to a DC would rather doesn't want to prepare for the guy who has all that Jaden Daniels does from a dual threat perspective. Not that Drake May is not an athlete. He is. He hit over like 20 miles per hour or less this past week on a scramble. But it's so dynamic and so much that defense coordinators probably fear Daniels more. But I think decision makers would probably take May prior. It's just it's close.
I want to
it's
revisit this conversation, and I want to revisit this conversation in 5 years. Honestly, 5 years is like the real responsible way to revisit this question.
I do think a fun argument to make is
Kyle wants to revisit this after Caleb Williams' best game of his career. That's exactly when he wants to revisit.
Well, what I saw last night was Caleb Williams. I know wins is a quarterback stat, and last night we saw the Bears win.
He tried to throw a pick in the red zone.
Interesting.
He just tried to do what Daniels did, and the DB just dropped.
It was interesting.
He did win that.
I do think a very fun conversation around this is does Jared Verse or Joe Alt steal votes here?
Ooh.
In terms of a number one pick? I know it's a quarterback thing, but with Joe Alt being all pro caliber at both left and right tackle, and Jared Verse being one of the most impactful defenders in the NFL, I wonder if you were to poll decision makers in the NFL right now, how many guys could steal votes from the quarterbacks?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, if you're Brandon Beane, and it's like, why would I need Drake May or Jaden Daniels? I have Josh Allen. I would probably love to have Jared Verse on that defense, So yeah, I could see that, but like, even still, but there's also like, hey, if I draft Drake May, I could trade him for 4 first-round picks right now, and that would probably be better than one Jared Verse. I don't know. But those two. Or those, I'm trying to think of who else.
There would be a sick freak who,
like
Malik Neighbors. I would bang from Roma Dunze, but
Brock Bowers.
Got to see him. You got to see Brock Bowers out of the Don Joy before you can convince me otherwise.
I don't know if it'd be first overall pick, but Quinyon Mitchell, also a very valid argument.
Dude, that if a redraft for 2024, I haven't done one, that would just go. That draft I said at the time was one of the most insane. It was probably that draft 2021, 2011, 3 of the best drafts in modern memory. But like redoing a top 10 for 2024 would be freaking difficult because it was such a good draft. All right, let's get to the next one. There should be an award for playing through injury, a la Juwan Jennings, 5 broken ribs, high and low ankle sprain.
I could say this stands. It'd be sort of like the like Cal Ripken Iron Man Award. We got to do something for guys that are just playing through catastrophic injuries.
Everyone gets a full body scan at the end of the season, and whoever has like the most metal, like whoever's like body, doctors evaluate it, and like it's just a doctor gives it out. They're like, this guy should not have actually been on the field. He gets the award.
It also reminds me that last year Fred Warner played on a dislocated ankle or on a fractured ankle, which, like, again, why? Like, that's insane. Yeah. That's insane levels of dog in him, which, of course, NFL is going to miss Fred Warner this year, but I do think it deserves an award.
This is the award. Okay, you're looking at it. This is the Ed Block Courage Award, and you get this. I actually want to read to you the description of it because I want to do it justice. Every locker room in the National Football League gets an opportunity at the season's end or the beginning of next season to vote on their Ed Block Courage Award winner. Okay, so I won this in Chicago because really it's just like you got hurt, and we see that you're working hard to get back. But the real Ed Block Courage Award, NFL. I want to get the description right because I know that they have it worded the right way. It honors the Ed Block Courage Award recipient symbolizes professionalism, great strength and dedication, community role model, all that stuff. But the thing that stood out to me was if you voted for somebody for this award, it was like, dude, I see you out there thugging it. And our guy Juwan Jennings is a prime example of a guy who's out there playing beat up, banged up. And they're all over the league. There's guys like this all over the league, some more publicized than others. But I love this, and I think that the Ed Block Courage Award and awards like it should be even more pumped up because these are the real dogs, okay? These are the examples that you want to see if guys playing hurt.
All right, next one. NFL needs its own version of the Heisman. This was mine because the other day you were talking JT, Jonathan Taylor for MVP, and I'm like, see, it's just like somewhat like it says value. And if you're just doing value on a football field, it's always quarterbacks. They're just so much more valuable than any other position. But I want a Heisman. I want to give out an award to just who was the best player. Who was the best player this year? I think it's more meaningful. I think that's what makes the Heisman so special is that like you get that award, you were the best player in college football that year. NFL needs its own version. I'm obviously confirming this because it was mine, but
Confirm. I love this.
I'll confirm this one because it opens up so many possibilities for players. Like, I'm going back in time. You're thinking about like JJ Watt would win a Heisman. Aaron Donald would win Heisman. I would even argue for like Myles Garrett to be in the Heisman conversation every year for being.
Guy only likes defense.
That's right. That's right. We are arguing for our defenders. We're arguing for Fred Warner every year. We're arguing for Dexter Lawrence every year. This is our Heisman moment.
Larry Allen would have won a Heisman.
That's right. We need Heismans. We need a Unk Still Got It award.
Oh yeah.
For like players that are like over like 35. Calais Campbell and Demario Davis are the
Darren Waller. We're glad he's back award.
Yeah, comeback player of the year should be Darren Waller.
Yeah, dude.
He came back from being a bad rapper to be a good football player. But yes, I'm confirming this. They need their own version of the Heisman.
It honestly blows my mind that the NFL hasn't. They've tried to squeeze dollars out of everything else. Like, you feel like this is an easy dollar squeeze that you could get. And I bet it does happen here sometime soon. All right, last one. JP, this one's yours. Take it away.
Mine is Spencer Rattler should be the Saints 2026 starting quarterback. And I am going to confirm this one. And I was just watching the game against the Patriots. And I was like, hey, man, Spencer Rattler's making some throws. And it's not just he's making the high-level throws. He had a touchdown to Chris Olave that Olave dropped. There was a nice dig with a defender in his face. For a guy who's not that big, to be able to fire those passes under pressure, that's something, that poise is something that stands out. And I know the Saints are probably going to be very bad, and the Saints are probably going to be near the top of the draft. But with the way that Spencer Rattler has played, he has not been the major problem for the Saints this year. So I would argue that you give him another shot to be the starting quarterback, see what happens when you continue to add talent around him, and just go in saying like, hey, he's a 5th-round pick. We're going to see what happens.
Watch out for the Saints. Don't let him get hot. That guy Kellen Moore can coach. That question has been answered, and it's evidenced by the void in Philadelphia offensively, and the way that this Saints team continues to be competitive. And I said a victory for this team this season would look like establishing a culture, establishing a hierarchy of youth-based leadership, and you get your quarterback going out and playing the way that he has played at certain moments. That is the exact guy you want to be the youth-based leadership. You want it to go through him. So I say confirmed for the 26 starting quarterback, especially because our guy Arch Manning, I got some questions there, bud.
I will also be confirming this for a couple of reasons. One, he's been that good. Two, because you might also stink next year. You'll draft a guy and you're going to lose like some of these old, like it's going to be a multi-year process to get things back to where it needs to be. And so I just think he's shown more than enough. If you draft a guy in the top 3, and some of these guys could work out. I don't love anyone at the top of the draft right now where I'm like, he's for sure going to be a dude in the NFL. It's just not a great quarterback class. And if you're putting a guy into that situation and it's still going to be rough around him, it's like, I just would wait. You just need to start building from base layer, like get the positions that matter, get edge rushers. They've already tried as much as they can on offensive line. Don't draft any more offensive linemen, but like get a wide receiver. Like you got to figure out the base layer first before you put that king at the top to lead it. And I think Rattler's done enough where it's like he still could be. Like he's not without tools. He is a twitchy mover in the pocket. He's not a great athlete, but like he's nimble enough to evade pressure. He has a very good NFL arm. He showed enough. I'm giving him next year. Giving him next year at minimum. We can talk after that if we're really still not sold on him being a franchise quarterback, but I just don't think this is the year 2. And I do think 2027 will be. I thought this year had a potential to, but I will go to war saying the 2027 quarterback class right now, or just the 2027 class in general, is going to be nasty. You're going to want someone in the 2027 draft. All right. Locks are sponsored all season long by Cash App. Making money moves should be easy, and that's why there's Cash App. It's fast, safe, and honestly just way more personalized than the other apps out there. Kyle, give us your locks, and let's get out of here.
Okay, let's see that graphic, Harry. We got the locks here. I got some stuff written down. New England, -7. Okay, Tampa Bay at Detroit is going to go over. It's going to get loose, as Pete Prisco would say. Seattle, -3.5. And also in that Houston at Seattle game, I've got the under 40.5. Look, the Seattle defense is for real. And I think that the perfect storm of that defensive front being maniacal and Mike McDonald putting his fingerprints all over that football team and the Houston question marks on the offensive line. You're in Seattle. That's the tough place to play as an offensive lineman. Can't hear anything. Can't hear yourself think. Give me the under in that one and the Seattle Seahawks.
That's a terrible matchup because we said every Texans offensive lineman can lose. They have no one they trust. And then every Seahawks defensive lineman can win. They have no dominant guy, but everyone, if they have a favorable matchup, can win. So that's going to be a bloodbath. I pray for CJ Stroud and his health. All right. That's the end of our show. We're back tomorrow.
That's fun, guys.
Power tiers. Remember, subscribe to our new YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/pushingthepile. We're starting from scratch. So the likes, the comments, the subscriptions, the views, whatever, they all help. So very thankful for you guys for tuning in. As always, until next time, keep pushing.
Peace.